Something great about baseball is the random stories that you get throughout the year. This really applies to all sports, but we're talking about baseball today, like I usually do. Some of these stories are more significant than others, but no matter how small, they can impact the trajectory of a player or a team. Some of my favorite stories involve players who come back from a long-term injury and are able to pick up where they left off, or even show signs of improvement. One of these players is Padres starting pitcher Dinelson Lamet. You may have heard of Lamet recently, but I guarantee there are plenty of people who haven't, and that's just unacceptable. Although there is some good reason as to why some fans have not heard of him. Just look at the size of his Wikipedia page. You wouldn't think a guy with a Wikipedia page this small would be dominating major league hitters. Well, he is, with his incredible slider, and I want everyone to know about it. So, let's take a look back at his early career. In 2012, the Philadelphia Phillies tried to sign Lamet as an international free agent. However, due to some contract issues, he signed with the Padres a couple of years later. Over the next few years, he cruised through the minors, leading to his MLB debut in 2017. His results were a bit streaky, but he showed glimpses of his dominant stuff. There were 3 pitches that he threw the majority of the time, those being the slider, sinker, and 4-seam fastball. The clear favorite of his pitches was his slider, which he threw 38.9% of the time in 2017. Of the players who threw at least 1,000 pitches, which basically limits the list to starting pitchers and relievers who were used frequently, a total of 274 pitchers, Lamet ranked 10th in slider usage percentage. Although, among these 10 pitchers, only 2 of them were starting pitchers, Lamet and Chris Archer. So we see how rare it is for a starting pitcher to rely on their slider as their primary pitch. Ultimately, what matters is results. In 2017, among pitchers who threw at least 1,000 total pitches and at least 500 sliders, which boils down to 52 pitchers, here is where Lamet ranked in some key stats. This really tells the story. Lamet may have been a bit shaky in 2017, but he was dominant with that slider. The future was looking bright. Unfortunately for Lamet, before the 2018 season, he tore the UCL in his right elbow and missed the entire season. Because of this, you would probably expect some sort of regression, especially for a guy who relies on velocity and movement. Well, it gets a bit weird from here. Lamet came back in July 2019. Totaling 14 starts, Lamet's numbers improved from 2017. Notably, he didn't allow more than 4 earned runs in a game. Pretty solid for a guy that came off Tommy John surgery. Also, his strikeouts per 9 increased and walks per 9 decreased. Looking at the strikeout per 9 leaders in 2019, he would have ranked 2nd among this group of players, although he did only start 14 games. Still, I'm going to make the assumption that he would have stayed in this top 10 if he started at least 30 games. Overall, he was pitching like a reliable power pitcher. However, there was still some untapped potential that had yet to be seen. Something that illustrates this long-term potential was his velocity during starts. When Lamet faced a lineup 3 times or more in a game, the velocity of pitches fell less than 1 mile per hour. We also have to look at the effectiveness of his breaking ball. I say breaking ball because he threw a mix of a curveball and a slider in 2019. And by that, I mean experts could barely tell the difference between the 2 pitches. Of the pitchers who threw at least 500 breaking balls and 1,000 total pitches, making a total of 108 pitchers, here's where Lamet ranked in 2019. Yeah, I know. He only threw 14 starts and didn't throw as many pitches as many pitchers on this list. But this is really telling. His breaking ball was elite, even after Tommy John surgery. Former Padres pitching coach Darren Balsley raved about Lamet's stuff, as Lamet is able to do things with a baseball that no one else is able to do. That takes us to 2020. Heading into this season, no one really knew what to expect from Lamet. Would he continue where he left off in 2019? How many innings would he be able to pitch? So far, we have seen something pretty incredible. Among pitchers who have pitched at least 20 innings, here is where Lamet ranks as of August 18th, 2020. Just a quick disclaimer, if he had a bad start before I upload this video, that shouldn't disregard how good he was in the previous 5 starts. These rankings show Lamet to be a top-tier pitcher, which makes sense since he had 2 serious no-hit bids in 2 straight starts. Now, here's what Lamet's pitches look like. There is a slight increase in velocity across all of his pitches compared to 2019. Although, what I want to look at is the usage rate of Lamet's slider. Of the pitchers who have thrown at least 250 pitches this season, which equates to 109 pitchers, Lamet ranks first in usage rate by a huge margin. I expect this percentage to slightly fall over the course of the season, but comparing this to Lamet's 2019 breaking ball percentage, I don't expect this number to fall below 45%. If you look at the 2020 rankings with the slider, you can see why Lamet throws it so much. He's the only pitcher to have thrown it over 200 times at this point in the season, and hitters just can't seem to hit it. For a starting pitcher to rely on their breaking ball this heavily and still produce the results that Lamet has been doing, that's a case for the best slider in the league. Well, something interesting is the fact that Lamet constantly throws this slider in the same place, low and away to right-handed batters, which would be low and in for left-handed batters. For the most part, the pitch stays in the strike zone. Knowing this, we can connect his zone swing percentage and total swing percentage. They are at the highest they have ever been. Granted, Lamet hasn't pitched a whole lot in his career, and he has only pitched 5 starts in 2020 as of recording this video, but I don't expect this trend to severely alter anytime soon. That being said, while the swing percentages are high, the contact percentages are low, lower than they have ever been. When you look at a pitch overlay of Lamet's slider and fastball, it's easy to see why he is getting so many swings and misses. They look the exact same coming out of the hand, which can leave hitters no choice but to swing. It seems that Lamet has taken the next step in his career to become a top-tier starting pitcher. Despite all of these stats, there is still some work that needs to be done. What does Lamet need to do to perform like this consistently? Ultimately, Lamet's main issue is the command of his pitches. Like I have shown with the heat maps, this isn't a huge deal for his slider, as the amount of movement still causes hitters to swing and miss. Although the command could always be better. What I'm actually somewhat concerned about is the command of his fastball. Recently, it has gotten better, but at times he will have trouble locating his fastball where he wants to in the strike zone. It can reach speeds near 100 miles per hour, which can alleviate some of the command issues, but in a situation where you need to be relied upon, loss of command is something that can come back to haunt you. Also, he can lack control of his pitches, as seen with how many hitters he has hit so far this season. And the lack of a good third pitch is a little concerning if he ever needs to be the anchor of a rotation, or is in a tough in-game situation. His sinker is okay, but it still needs some work. So Lamet is not the perfect pitcher, but he definitely deserves more recognition for what he has been up to in 2020. MLB on Instagram seems to have caught on to what Lamet has been up to, but I want him to become a household name because he definitely has the potential to do so. And most of all, I want him to have a legitimate Wikipedia page. I wouldn't be surprised if I've said more in this video than what is written on his Wikipedia page. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did. If you didn't know, I make videos on the Start Graving Sports channel. I currently do a series revolving around the butterfly effect, which is essentially the idea that one small event can lead to something huge in the future. These are the 2 videos I have done so far on the topic, and I have many more planned for the near future. So go ahead and check them out if you haven't. And real quick, I really appreciate all the recent support I've been getting, and I have no reason to slow down anytime soon. So subscribe if you want to stick around. Thanks for watching.